All right, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to a wonderful day here at Southwest School. So let's get oriented to today. Today is not Monday, class. What is today?
Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. What does Tuesday start with, Irie?
T.
The letter T. What does the letter T sound like, Maverick? It makes the t sound. Very good. What month are we in, Maribel? March. We are in the month of March. March has a controlled sound that we have been working on. Who knows that our controlled sound that we have been working on, Charlotte? The AR has the AR sound. Very good. So, guys, you can see that we can take curriculum all across the board there. All right, today is not the 23rd. Today is the 24th of what year? 2026. If last year was 2025 and this year is 2026, what will next year be? 2027. Very, very good. Yesterday we had art. Today we're gonna have music. Today we're gonna have music. Okay, so let's change the date here. So we have, it is not the 23rd. Let's change the whole color. And we have 3/24/2026. Okay, and we will change it over here as well. We got 3/24/2026. There we discussed a type of habitat yesterday. We talked about a type of habitat. And in order for us to see what we remember, I want us to review what we know, but also dive into what we think we know about the next habitat that we're going to talk about. So, for us to do that, we're going to do a short, quick animal sort, okay? So, each table is going to get a construction piece of paper that has FW, means for freshwater, and you're going to have on the other side is going to say SW for saltwater, which is the next habitat that we're going to talk about. And what you're going to do is you are going to work with your table to sort the animals to see what you already know from the freshwater habitat and see what you think you know, and we can talk about, and you can pull the information that you've already read, that you've already seen in videos about the saltwater habitat. Okay, so I am going to give each one of your tables a Cameron, you can actually come and work with Jeremiah's group, okay? Rattange, come over here. Sit there. Irie, go to Gabriella's table. You can leave your device. And Maribel, you can go to that back table over there. Yes, Maverick. Yes. All right, I'll give you a second. Give me a second, and I'll let you know when to start, okay? All right, so some of our pictures that I printed off came out a little dark. So what I'm going to do is actually put the pictures up here so that you can see them in color. And that will also help you sort through, okay? All right. So here are the pictures up there. All right. So you can go ahead and get started, unclip them, and see where you think those animals would go. A whale and fresh water? Think about it. Talk about it. Where do you think? But think about the types of bodies of water that are fresh that we talked about yesterday, like ponds and streams and lakes. We did not talk about oceans yesterday. We talked about lakes and streams and ponds. All right, guys, did we already sort? Okay, here we go. Are we ready? And 5, 4, 3, we're there. 2, and 1. Okay, so I am going to blow this up just a little bit so Miss Boyd's eyes can see them and we can sort through them together real quickly. Okay, so let's take a look at this bullfrog. This bullfrog represents what habitat you think? Let's see. Let me go back here to this group here. Freshwater habitat. Why do you think that's a freshwater habitat animal? Does anybody have an answer? Yes, Charlotte.
Because we learned about it in the story yesterday, but then on the other side, we didn't learn about it.
Okay, so we did talk about bullfrogs being a freshwater habitat animal. Yes, Henry.
Because bullfrogs can't survive in salt water.
Okay, because bullfrogs cannot survive in salt water because fresh water has what in it?
No salt.
No salt. It has very minimal salt. Okay, let's talk about the starfish. Where do you think the starfish would go? Irie? Look at that. SW. Salt. Can you say salt water? Salt water. Okay, salt water. What do you know already about a starfish? Who knows something about a starfish? Does anybody know anything about a starfish? Ava.
It has 5 legs.
Okay, she says it has 5 legs. Do you think it has 5 legs?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Estelle?
That's kind of spiky.
That is kind of spiky. Liberty, loud and proud. I can't hear you, love bug. Huh? Oh, she said it can stick to things, okay? So where do you think starfish live? In salt water, okay? Let's talk about this beaver. Where would the attack for today? So I am going to go around the room and I want you guys to read something about the freshwater habitat from yesterday. Okay, Jiu, what kind of climate is in the freshwater habitat? It varies. Why?
Because they are all over the world.
Yes, there's all different types of fresh saltwater habitat. What do you think where do you think a saltwater habitat is? Where is a place that you like to go that a saltwater habitat would be? Where do you think? And looking up there at the screen, where do you think these different types of families are? Where do you think they are? Emma?
The beach.
At the beach. You are looking at different families that are at the beach. And what type of water do you think is at the beach? Salt water. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So who is the person or the animal who is taking us on this adventure throughout our different habitats, Jeremiah. Rat and Barrow. So Rat and Barrow is about to take us on another adventure. So here we go. Welcome to the last habitat that we're going to explore in the last read aloud. We explored freshwater habitat. Now we're going to learn about another kind of water habitat, a saltwater habitat. Saltwater habitats, as you could guess from their name, contains lots of salt. This means that we can't use this water for drinking. Can we use fresh water for drinking? Yes, but we cannot use salt water for drinking. Okay? So, it's hard to imagine, but more of the earth is covered with water than it's covered with land. Most of that water is salt water in oceans and seas. Oceans are huge areas of water that stretch all around our planet, and they are home to almost half of the world's species of animals and millions of different plants. The water in the ocean comes from rain as well as from rivers and streams that flow into the ocean. Seas are smaller areas of salt water that have land around them or around part of them. Okay? Look right there. That's beautiful, isn't it? The coastland. I've come to the largest ocean, the Pacific, to show you a bit more about ocean habitats and the plants and animals that live in them. I'm standing on a beach looking out at the water. You can see that the waves are crashing onto the beach, and I want to show you something. Look at this. Okay? These are different coastlands from different countries that represent some of our students in our classroom. So if we look at the coastal indigenous communities of Chile right here, it shows the people who live by the coastland. And what do you think they do by the coastland? What do you think they do with those boats by the coastland? Say it out loud.
Fish.
Yes, they fish. They look like they're fishing right there, okay? And so here is the Swahili people of Tanzania in Africa. They are by the coastland here. And what do you think they're doing on the coastland, Jeremiah? Yep, they're fishing too. Now look right here in South Korea. These are traditional ways that the fishermen fished here in South Korea. And then we have here in the coastland where the people of India are fishing on their coastland. So there's coastlands all around our world to show that, hey, people are doing the same thing. They are fishing, right? Just like we have coastlands here and we fish, people all around the world also have coastlands and fish, right, Daniel? Yep, so, it's time for us to go to school, right? So, let's talk about it. The interesting thing about the ocean, okay, so, let's take a look at this. Look at this. Wow. All right. So, now you may think that when you're standing on the land looking at the water, that the land stops where the water starts. It certainly looks that way, but let me get my trusty scuba gear out and walk into the water. Now that I am here, I'm still standing on land. It's just that land is under the water. The land slopes downward the farther I go out into the water, which means the water is getting deeper and deeper. So, slopes is one of our vocabulary words, right? So, It just means that it's going downward, further and further in the water. So look up here at this picture. This is the ocean floor. Okay, this is the ocean floor. The interesting thing about the ocean floor, which is the land under the ocean water, is that it isn't flat. As on land, the earth beneath the ocean water has both mountains and valleys. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Yes, you do believe that? Yeah? That it has oceans, that it has slopes and valleys and mountains under there? All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to shrink it a little bit so we can see all the pictures. Okay?
Lion, fish,
All right.
fish.
There are plants and animals in nearly every part of the ocean. Some in the deep ocean waters far from the land, and some in the shallow waters closest to the shore. Okay? Some animals like turtles, jellyfish, and crabs live closer to the shore where it's shallower and warmer. Some animals like it better near the surface of the water, and others prefer to live down at the very bottom of the ocean on the deep ocean floor. They have all had to adapt to the conditions of their habitats. For instance, the animals that live in the deeper parts of the ocean that had to have adapt to the darkness because the sunlight cannot reach that deep. Some fish, like the devilfish, have very large mouths and sharp teeth so that they can catch their prey as easily as possible. Guys, I have never seen a devilfish. Have you ever seen a devilfish? No. I think I might have. We might have to look that up. Maybe at an aquarium.
I saw a lionfish and a devilfish.
Okay.
I only saw the lion.
Rashawn, wash your hands. Okay, so let's talk about the coral reef. Let's talk about the coral reef, okay? So, I have now arrived at a special part of a saltwater habitat called the coral reef, which is made up of many tiny animals called corals. Corals stay in one place all their adult lives. They have stomachs and mouths and even skeletons. Wow. These skeletons can be on the inside or outside of the coral animals and are also called coral. Okay? When the coral animal dies, its skeleton remains in place and other coral animals will come and live on top of the old skeleton. Okay, now I want you to turn and talk, and I want you to talk about if you was a scuba diver like Rattenborough, what would you want to see so far in the ocean? If you was a scuba diver like Rattenborough, what would you want to see in the ocean so far?
I would want to see the giant squid
Out of that
and the whale that eats see them, but then I have a knife.
Rattenborough. So, when we did our sort, we talked about a starfish. Okay, a starfish. Now, here is an animal that lies in and around the coral reef, okay, and whose name most of you can probably already guess based on its shape. This starfish, also known as sea star, has 5 arms, which make it look like a star. Although it's called the starfish, it's not actually a fish. It belongs in a group of animals that have a spiny skin all over their bodies,